Welcome to Milestone Moments, the show where we explore the journeys that lead to success. I'm Sheila Slick, your host and founder of 5 Milestones. In every episode, we will bring you insights from the minds of entrepreneurs, leaders, and experts who will share not just their expertise, but the milestone moments that have reshaped their journeys and led to significant achievements. So if you're looking for motivation, you're in the right place. Subscribe now and discover the milestones that mark the path to success. Welcome to another episode of Milestone Moments in Business and Leadership. I'm Sheila Slick, your host, and today my special guest is Andrew Brummer, known as the Business Polygraph. He helps CEOs reclaim their time through authentic leadership. At 53, he pivoted from corporate life to coaching startups globally. He authored 2 books and built a 7,000 or more person network. He is a solutionist and a multiplier with decades of experience in operations, and he excels at bringing out people's best while refusing to conform. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Sheila. Thank you for having me.
So let's get started. What was that specific moment that told you it was time to pivot away from corporate life at the age of 53? And what made you or your transition successful rather than just survivable? Tell us what that story was.
That's a great follow-on question. So my CEO and good friend and I met in March of 24. It was a Friday evening. And he said to me, Andrew, if we don't get investor funding, we're probably going to have to shut the company down. And it was quite a dire situation. So it was same as most people face in their lives where, change comes only when your hand is forced. We get very comfortable. We get complacent. I won't use the word lazy. We just get complacent. We get comfortable and life is easy. So we don't take on things that we don't have to take on. So that evening was a really stressful evening for me. I played every worst case scenario through my head, woke up the next morning, did the budgets, and I looked at the family and said, guys, we're in trouble. 53-year-old male. I am a servant pleaser. I have been behind a lot of other successful people, but I had to that date not owned my brand. I've not looked after myself, not the perceptions. I've not been out there. I was very happy doing what I was doing. I was very good at doing what I was doing. I'm very good at supporting people that like being on the stage and driving things and moving things forward. So very, 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 very humbling moments. So that day, redid the budget, said to the family, look, guys, we're in trouble. This is what's happening. By midday that day, I was moving on and planning. By Monday, I was already doing outreach and I was going. For me, it's about mindset. We are all at many points of our lives faced with difficult scenarios and situations and things that we wish we were not dealing with. But the reality of life is difficult. And we are all throwing curveballs at the best of times and at the worst of times. The curveball is not the problem. The difficult challenges are not the problem. Doesn't matter whether it's psychological, physical, abuse, financial. The situation is not the problem. Our mindsets of how we decide to deal with that and how we allow that moment to override who we're at and how we deal with the situation is where the fail point comes. The fact that I'm having a bad experience or a difficult part in time in life doesn't change the fact that when I wake up tomorrow morning, I give that scenario permission to influence my life tomorrow. I give it permission to. I wake up and I allow today's events to influence my behavior and how I show up tomorrow. I allow what I'm experiencing today to influence, inform, manipulate, just change, just drive, define. So I become a casualty of today. My tomorrow is a casualty and a consequence of today. I'm a firm believer of just waking up and tomorrow morning, just put your foot down on the floor and say, what am I going to do to make today better? How do I live today to make it a different day in comparison to what yesterday was and what today could be if I don't get in front of this? And then figure out how you get in front of it. And some days you win, some days you lose. but it's all mindsets of how you get started and how you then get out there. And that mindset is what has propelled a phenomenal 20, 21 months of growth, of meeting people, getting exposed to forums, bodies, people that I should have had no access to. It's been a fantastic, hard, but fantastic 20 months.
That's almost 2 years, 20 months.
Correct.
So you're known as the business polygraph. I want to learn a little bit more about that. And also, what do you think is the biggest lie that people, that leaders tell themselves, and how can they break free from that? What could be one life lesson for us today?
So business polygraph, I'm a solutionist. I'm a multiplier. My Colby score is 3395, which means I am intuition bound. I am not rule bound. I've got a really good intuitive sense of things. I've worked in a lot of industries, in a lot of areas in the business, everything from development to operations to sales to investors to coding. I've done an awful lot in a lot of different verticals in a lot of places: Africa, Europe, UK, Canada, US, Central America. That experience has put me in a position where in dialogue with a business owner or an executive, I can quickly discern what the business is about. I can't be a specialist in that business, but I can quickly discern the problem, the approach, some of the challenges. I can hear the dialogue, and I can very quickly start touching what's working and not working, be it organizational, be it leadership, be it finance, be it revenue, be it go-to-market, and quickly touch things. And with AI being what AI does, it supercharges my capabilities because of I'm not rule bound, I'm not vertical bound, I'm not capability or skill bound. I can just, I have an ability to dive into next to anything and just very quickly assimilate and dive into that, whether that's the individual and the human I'm busy learning to understand, or it is a business problem that we're trying to figure out what's gone wrong with the business problem. I'm operationally sales focused, and I'm very human focused, and I have a really beautiful way of bringing those together. A lie. We live our lives, most of us live our lives, if we're given 10 scenarios that we need to work through, 10 problems we need to solve, or 10 things we need to do. 8 out of those 10, most of society, most of humanity will have a good sense. 6, 7, 8 out of 10 of those times, we have a good sense of what needs to be done. And we'll probably be right in what we're thinking. 1 or 2 out of those 10, we're guessing. We're kind of taking our intuition. We're kind of, I don't know, maybe this is right, maybe it's wrong. We got a 50-50 chance. 1 out of 10, we're out in the left field. We're playing the wrong football game. We're playing the wrong bat and ball game. We are so far off out in the fields. We're wrong. We are wrong. The challenge is society has taught us, because of the consequence of that one time we are wrong, we live our lives both personally and professionally based on the potential consequence of the 1 out of 10 that I'm wrong. So we as humans tend towards being overly cautious, overly constrained, overly conservative, because we know society, family, profession, social media, politics has taught us when you get it wrong, the consequence is ginormous. So we live our lives in more of a restrained fashion. And everyone I coach and I work with, I press them to live their life. If you're right 6, 7, 8 out of 10 times, living your life around the rule of 1 you're going to get wrong, to be careful around what you do and what you say and where you go and how you look, you're actually leaving a lot on the table. You're leaving a lot of, just think of all the lives you could be affecting, the problems you could be solving, the skills you could be growing, the people you could be affecting. Just think of what you could be doing if you were taking more of a chance on what you intuitively knew to be right versus living to avoid the consequence of that one time you're wrong. And people say, Andrew, but surely when you're wrong, that can go quite bad. Yes, it can. But I look at the number of times I've been wrong and it's gone bad and how bad it's gone in opposition to the number of lives that I've affected and the people and the worlds that I've changed. There's no comparison. There's absolutely no comparison.
So you think it's perhaps fear that keeps them stuck? The fear
Yes,
of something
I
going
think fear, consequence,
wrong.
fear. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fear of consequence. Okay. Well, as a mom, I'm always telling, the kids all actions have consequences. And so,
Yeah, and the challenge, and I get it. I get the fact that we want to keep people safe. I get it. But when we do that, we lose the ability to learn the muscles, to find where is that envelope of stretch? How far, when is it that I am completely or out of line? And where is the world that I can affect positively? And when we get our children to think in that extreme conservative way, what we do is we make them scared to do the really cool things. We make them scared to take the chance. And they don't know why. None of us really know why we got there. It's just society teaches us, and we eventually just get there, and we're living that life. And there's no one thing we can touch and say that's what caused it. That's how we got there.
So do you have a way to measure or, to think through the risk versus the reward? Because sometimes I think that, by thinking about that, it can help you take that chance
Yeah,
because, it helps you question what would be the worst case scenario and perhaps help you overcome that
yeah.
fear.
I always, when I'm in situations like that, I always and very quickly figure out what is the worst case scenario. What is the absolute worst case scenario? And what's the probability of me hitting that in what I'm about to say or do? And if I don't believe I can manage or cater for that worst case scenario, then I'll stop and I'll go to you and say, Sheila, this is the thing we're trying to solve. This is the problem we're trying to resolve. These are the options that are available. This is what I think the answer is, but I think this is the consequence. And this is why I'm not comfortable making that decision. So I will go through that every time. But if I feel that worst case scenario is manageable or mitigatable, in other, I can mitigate away from it, then I will rather err on the side of taking a chance to help press people in a direction to find a new novel tomorrow. As long as I believe that I'm going to be able to manage the situation, but I'm very cautious. If I feel, yeah, this is, I'm not comfortable. I will seek counsel. I will seek a coach, an advisor, a manager, a leader, an owner. I'll have the dialogue and I'll explain why I'm at where I'm at. And I may still go with my recommendation, um, but it then becomes a shared kind of, this is the fear. This is what could possibly go wrong.
So today you specialize in coaching and you also have authored 2 books. Are you one on one with the leaders or at the organizational level?
So I do public speaking around a number of topics. One around leadership and how to have your team go to bed on a Sunday night, wanting to go to work on a Monday morning. Another one is around practical AI, and another one is around life pivots. How do you pivot yourself and move yourself forward? Why you should not be comfortable. So those I do as general topics in larger rooms. My specialty coaching is with the individuals, with the business owner and the CEO or the executive. I'm really good at helping understand that one person, help that one person understand what they need to do to make themselves dispensable. What are they doing that they should not be doing? Why are they running the company by themselves? Why are they alone at the top? Why have they not coached the team around them to echo? And then help them find, how do you bring that leader and the team closer to one another so that there isn't that chasm between that leader, be it the business owner or the executive? Because if you can bring those people together and you can still have the leader running the company or the team with the team or with the company, that is a heck of a lot easier than the leader trying to be the chief investment officer, chief product officer, chief sales officer, chief. So my focus is around the individual, and then I'll work with that executive or that business owner to help them build a leadership team around them that will help them run that function or that company.
Got it. So back to the pivot. What key lesson or piece of advice can you leave us today for anyone that perhaps is in their 50s or any age and is looking to pivot?
What I'd say is I've had the privilege of mentoring and coaching from Iraq to India, Botswana, Nigeria, Bulgaria, Venezuela, US, India. I mean, all over the place. Everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants purpose, passion, recognition, to be appreciated. to have a fair chance at success. That fair chance of success doesn't come by itself. You yourself have to look in the mirror and decide, what does my version of success look like? And what you define as success today doesn't mean it's what you define tomorrow, but define your version of what does success mean today and start working towards that version of success. Whether that version of success means it's a 10-year plan, 5-year plan, 1-year plan, define it and take a decision to act into it. If you do not define it, you are living somebody else's version of that. So you're living in somebody else's version of their desired outcome. If you have defined it, but you're not acting against it, you have a vision of where you want to go, and you will be aligning yourself to other people that are doing something similar to what you're doing, and you are kind of in their shadow of what they're trying to do. Or define it and take ownership of it and set your plan to get going. But if you're comfortable in your job, hit the pause button. The world is changing very fast right now. If you're comfortable in your job, whether you are 35 years old or 55 years old, if you're comfortable in your job, ask yourself the question, if I have that Dear Johnny discussion tomorrow, have I created the framework, the structure of people, network relationships around me that are going to help me survive the Dear Johnny discussion? And by Dear Johnny, I mean when you get told, thank you very much, here's your gold watch. Thank you for everything you've done for the company. Goodbye. What are you doing to make sure you are ready? Because if you leave it till the last minute, when that happens, you're going to scramble. I've met a lot of people that are scrambling, a lot of people, and it's hard. It's really hard because you can't rush. You can't rush networking. I encourage you, even when you don't need it, when you're not in the rush and the pressure's not there, start networking, start getting out there, start building relationships, start getting face-to-face with people, start developing relationships, rebuild what you had before COVID, rebuild the structure, make friends so that when you get to that point, you have a circle of people to call on to help you to keep your energy up, your motivation up, your mind focused, and help you get yourself moving forward.
So where can we find you online?
AndrewBrummer.com. That'll redirect you to my book site. There's a contact page there. And you can also find me on LinkedIn, Andrew Brummer.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Andrew.
Thank you, Sheila. I really appreciate the time and the invitation.
And thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Milestone Moments in Business and Leadership. Until next time.